101, Bitey. I love it, I love it. Reasoning is a knockout structure, and you have the blinds covered, and the cutoff, and this guy, and this guy. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bounties that you can have if you hit a big hand. And this guy is like, he has you covered, yes, but he's not really going to call too wide. I would probably make it more than a min raise as a standard sizing early in the tournament. I'd make it 3 times the big blind or 2.5, so I'd make it 50 chips or a 60. But I'm very impressed to see you raising this because I think it's a good play in a knockout structure. In a non-knockout, I would not be doing this. Well, now I kind of think you have to call because you're getting really good odds. 4-1, suited ace. If you hit a monster flop, you can get really nice bounties. And I don't think he's too strong, so he really shouldn't be opening up the betting and shoving all in, which is what you're worried about. But his hand, I think, is quite weak, so I would just call here, given these odds. Hot odds. It's actually a pretty cool hand in a knockout structure. Bet. Nice. Well played. Bet. I like it. Yeah, I like bet folding rather than check calling because your kicker is like a medium kicker. And you can also get value from some flush draws and middling straight draws, and it's a limit pot. So I definitely like betting and just betting small and going for like 3 small streets or 2 small streets and then bluff catching or maybe folding on bad cards. It's definitely the best way to play this hand. Now I like it. It's pretty brick. We can just check call. Ugh. I mean, that's a draw, right? I mean, I'm tempted to raise for value. I'd make it like 150 because I think he has a draw. I mean, you got to check call, but yeah, I would raise turn for value after checking. Okay, you have him covered. Isolate. Make it 120. Nice. A bit too big, but you got the right idea. Well done, Biddy. Bitey, sorry. Bitey, bitey, bitey. Just bluff. Bet very small. Third pot. If he doesn't have an ace, he's going to fold because he's short. The problem with checking with king, queen high is that he might just bluff with, you know, his whole range and you can't call down with king high. So I prefer to just c-bet and hope he has no ace. Go for coaching, just satellite sitting a player. Yep, I do. Master Yoda, there it is. Nice, good sizing, good bet, Bitey, I love it. Now we'll give up. Whoa. Whoa. Just shovel in. Maybe he's you want the bounty, right? So because it's a bounty structure, you don't want to raise small and then have him call with 2 pair and leave behind his bounty. You really want that bounty for yourself. So nice. Great job. Well played. That's fantastic. What bind is this, dude? This is a $2 game. Bitey, like your play so far, man, is pretty much flawless. I've seen 10 hands and I can already tell you're way better than $2 games. So if you've got the bankroll, we'll see how you go late stage, but it's looking good so far. Cute. Cute little bounty hunt. I mean, I don't think I wouldn't do this because 5-3 is still not going to have very good playability and equity against this guy's range. So I would probably just fold this. If you have like 8-7 suited, then yeah, you can do this. But I think the 5 high is a little too speculative. Bluff. Bet 100. Out of everyone, you have the highest chance of having an ace, so just bluff, hope they all fold. now you're calling down with third pair against a big stack. It's just, now it's pretty ugly. I would just fold a turn. Hang on a sec, guys. Alright, sorry about that. Yeah, so just, I mean, as played, fold the turn. Whatever, man. You're getting 10 to 1, just call. But yeah. Didn't play that very well, I don't think. A little too loose, Spidey. Same with this one, it's a little too loose. I know you're trying to bounty hunt, but there is a point where your hand strength isn't going to win an all-in often enough to make it worth these chips. And this is, like, you're over that line at the moment, where 7-5, it's not going to win, you know, against 4 players, you're not going to make this worth it. So, raise here with, like, I don't know, like 8-9 suited will be okay. But you still have to worry about this big stack on the button. A little too loose. Flush draw on an ace-high board, definitely you need to bet to represent the ace. And if he calls you, you can still hit your equity. By checking, you lose that fold equity part of the profitability, where now the big stack can bluff you with king, queen, and what are you going to do? Check call 7 high, and then you just have to say, well, am I going to hit my hand? And you never want to try and hit. You want to be the one that's betting with fold equity to get better hands to fold, right? So if you can bet here, half pot, and he folds king, queen, that's fantastic. And if he does call with like pocket eights, well, you have outs. So you need to bet this, not check call. And now, by check calling, another bad reason why check calling is not good is that if you do hit, it's harder to get value because you're not the one choosing the bet sizing. And if you check raise, it looks really strong. So that they know you have a flush. But if you just go bet, 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 it's harder for them to put you on a flush. So you need to just bet, bet, bet. Like I wouldn't check call a flop 1 because like you have 7 high flush draw on a paired board against the guy who has you covered, so you have no bounty equity against him. And on the turn, yeah, you pick up extra outs, but it's still not that great because there's no bounty equity and it's a paired board. And your flush draw is only 7 high, so I think check fold flop, check fold flirt, check fold turn. Like over potting, but what if he has a full house here? You're fucked. So, I kind of like this line because it's disguised that you hit your straight, but you're bet sizing to a thinking player, like no one does this as a bluff. So it's obvious you have value. So I would fold here with a lot of strong hands. So yeah, you did find a call. Like you played the river okay, but I definitely think pre-flop, flop, and turn are all misplays. What did I miss? Five, 3 suited shove pre-flop. I'm on a final table if you want to sweat. Sonny, what's your name, dude? I remember your name, but I forgot it. It's up here, right? I have to load up PokerStars, that's kind of annoying. Saucy Panda is his name, guys. Saucy Space Panda. Is it a big final table? Or is it a little one? Yeah. I'll continue doing reviews. If it's a big final table, I might sweat it. Alright, what happened here? So raise, call. Just c-bet, because it's a very dry board, you have both players covered. You want to isolate this guy, take his bounty. So yeah, you need to bet here, not give this Marco guy a chance to catch up on the turn with Queen Jack, King, Queen, or Queen 9, something random. You also want him to fold 8s and 7s. You don't want to check and lose the ability to represent aces and kings and queens. So definitely just bet this flop, it's very dry. I mean, now you decide to bet, which is okay after, you know, a lot of checks, but you know, it's an extra card that could hit Marco's range and give him draws, and it also gives you draws. It's just bet the flop. Actually, I would call this because it's a knockout and you have both players covered. So you're getting 6-1. Just call, see a flop, and bet with any pair. And you're trying to get this bounty, right? In a non-knockout, you can fold, but because it's a knockout, that bounty equity makes spots like this playable. Because you want this bounty, and you've got enough chips to make it work, and it only costs you half a big blind. So if you miss, just fold. It's fine. Again, you're isolating short stacks too loose. Same as before. We already went through why. If it was heads up, I would check, but because it's multi-way, I definitely bet to get more value from this guy, Lopus, so bet half pot. Good. If you're going to play 5-3 or 7-5, you have to rep those big cards when they hit the flop. No need to double barrel, just a simple c-bet will win or lose rep it. Yep, good point, Condor. Knockout structure makes it a lot more aggro. I agree on the 7-5, not having enough odds at the turn. Yeah, you're trying to isolate short stacks a little too loose, you know. Go for a slightly stronger hand, like I said, 8-9 suited or 8-7 suited, not the 5-7 or the 2-3 or the 5-4. The high card value just isn't enough. Alright, we can fold the King 9. I call because it's a knockout structure, you're getting 2-1, it's a connected hand. You have him covered, right? If you didn't have him covered, I would not call, but the bounties really do make a big deal. And at 100 chips right now, it means nothing to you. You're just trying to hit a good flop. If you miss completely, or you only have a bottom pair, just check fold. But you're trying to hit like a straight draw, or 2-pair, trips, something like that. Okay? Fold against the big stack. You can raise here with an extremely wide range because again you have both players covered and you have position, so you don't have to. And Bitey, the way, like, I've seen you make some post-flop mistakes, so I'd say being tighter in general for you is a good idea. But once you get better at playing post-flop and not, you know, knowing when to c-bet and knowing what boards to attack and what boards to give up on, you can raise this and play more hands in position. I would raise this, right, is what I'm saying. I would raise this, but you don't have to. Especially if you're a new player, because getting into trouble with Queen 4 offsuit is quite easy to do. Can you review a 9-man next time doing well, but don't feel like I'm actually playing well? Alright, ETZD, I can, no problem. Next time. I've got a few more reviews and I'm going to play a little bit. To have a full house, your opponents need 8s, aces or 4s. I mean ace 8. Yeah, there's other combos of 8s that might have... the 8 was paired, wasn't it? I don't remember the hand exactly, Marcy. I'm not going to go back. I think his river bet was fine, over betting with the straight. Yeah, I think that was fine, given his range. Yeah. against a you know, a random non-thinking player. Wait, what happened here? Just a lived pot? I'd bet flop because we have 2 overs and a gut shot and we have bounty equity over him. So, and he probably just has 2 high cards and he's going to fold. So just bet flop. Same reasons for betting turn because he checked, he showed weakness. Bet with your equity. Yeah, like you're just being too weak. I like the 3-bet. Ah, jeez. It's pretty tough. You got decent equity, but it's just the king eye draw. Like, he's calling a 3-bet, so it's possible that he has the ace of diamonds with, like, ace queen of diamonds. And, like, going broke for this stack, you're giving up a lot of future bounty potential. If you lose 2,500 chips here, you'll be down to 900 and you'll be the short stack and you can't do much about it. So, oh, this is tough. You know what? I'd probably just check and see what he does. Because I really don't want to spew away 2,000 chips. And I think if we bet, we committed to calling. You can block bet here, you know. Actually, that might be a good line. Block betting really small and just folding to an all-in. Oh, can you even do that? Like, you're getting insane. Oh, there's no way you can do that. Check shove. Check shove's pretty good. Because if you check and he bets small, you can just check gem and all limit 2 overs in a flush draw, and he might not want to call with the ace of diamonds for his tournament life. He might just bet fold equity, like an 8. Or, he's not folding an overpair, of course. This is a really tough spot. I like checking. I'd probably check shove, but I might just check fold depending on his sizings. It's awkward because our equity right now is decent, but if he has the ace of diamonds, our equity is shot. So we need to just, if we do get it in, hope he doesn't have the ace of diamonds and he has something like jacks, and then we're flipping. But do you really want to take that spot when right now you're in a knockout structure? You have a very, very, very nice stack. You can raise a lot of hands and try and put pressure on the short stacks and gain bounties. I just don't think it's worth it. So I would just check. If he jams, you're committed. You gotta call. Your odds are too good. After he just calls, you shove turn. You just shove turn because he's showing weakness by calling, I think. That he might have just a draw, just a 1 diamond draw, like the ace of diamonds with 2 overs. And you can shove now and get him to fold those. He might even have 9s. And you can get him to fold that hand. Yeah, so I would just jam. I like it. I prefer checking flop though. It's a really, really tough hand to play in a knockout structure. Yeah, this is live. ADHD myself. No, he's a robot. This is live. Shoe on head. Ace 4-4. Ace 4. Ah, yeah. I remember Master Yoda. I mean, you're right. It's hard to have a full house. So what I said there was, you know, you're right. It's hard for him to have a full house, but I'm more thinking of like what are you going to get value from? But it worked out. I think the river play was fine with his straight, but you know, pre-flop, flop, and turn were all not very good. Okay, so ISO this, much better hand to ISO. Broadway suited, much better. Well done. Sizing I think is a little too small. Make it 175. I just call down. I don't think your kicker is strong enough to necessarily get it in for this large of a stack. So just the problem with this is he might be getting it in with King 10 and Ace 10. And it's unlikely he's going to get it in here with 10-9 or 10-8 for his whole stack. Like he's just going to call. And you're also getting, you're bluffing him off hands you crush. So he might have 6s and 5s and like just bet fold. Or he might have an ace high and just be bluffing. I prefer to just call down, I think. Call the 3-bet. Why are we bluffing into the 3-bet raiser? Just check into him. It's obvious you don't have a queen. Like, why would you bet here with the queen? You check. So this is pretty clear to me that you're bluffing, Bitey. And well, you're getting good odds, so you kind of have to call now. You committed yourself into calling against his 3-bet range, which is very strong. And you didn't call, so like you're getting 2 to 1. So if he has 2 overcards and a flush draw, you're getting the correct odds to call. If he has, you know, like anything basically, if he has any flush draw in his range, you have to call. And he could definitely have ace king of diamonds, ace jack of diamonds, ace 10 of diamonds, maybe like 10-9 of diamonds. There's a lot of possible flush draw combos that he could have, and you put yourself in the cage by doing this. You never want to donk lead in 3-bet pots unless you know really well what you're doing. So just check, and then probably check fold, maybe check call against a small bet. As he played 6-3, 63-32, I reckon he misses 2 out of 3. He can hardly ever call a shove, ace king hand, monotone flop. He's playing that loose? Alright, if he's playing that loose, Bitey, then yeah, I like your play. Yeah, if he's playing that loose, that's fine. Nice. Your raises out of position are a little too small. You need to make it 3 times the big blind plus a little bit more because you're out of position. So it needs to be about 300 here, not 200. Because look, if you raise 200, he's getting 3 to 1 in position. So he's not folding anything, which is fine if you have kings, but you want to just get more value out of this. So, yeah. Yeah, just bet. I'd probably still block bet down rather than bluff catch, because on the flop he has a lot of queen X and he's just going to not bluff those hands. So I would just continue betting 200 and just go 200 and then maybe 300 on the river. Hope to get 2 calls by a queen. Good. Well done. That's very well played, Bitey. Very well played. I love it. Except for the sizing. Pre-flop, everything else was good. With the bounty, I think this is okay. And you have a lot of chips, so losing like 900 in a flip isn't so bad. So I would go with that. Yeah, nice. I think it's good. Great when you have the best hand. Raise. You have to raise because there's so many draws and you don't want Kamal to come along with a flush draw or a straight draw, or you don't want Kamal to just jam with his draws, because you can't really call with your weak kicker if Kamal just jams here for 2,000 chips. So I would just, I mean, I guess you can if they both go all in because of the bounties, but I think it's better to just raise, get Kamal to fold equity, and go heads up with Lopez. Nice turn card. Yep, well played on the turn. Queen 10 suited is a 3-bet feeler bet, but it's meant as a raised fold. I mean, it wasn't a... So you're raising to see if he's going to limp re-raise. I mean, what do you do there with ace king? You're going to make it a min raise. You're probably going to just want to have your sizings very consistent, Bitey, so that they can't get a read on you. Maybe these guys aren't that good and they're not really looking at your bet sizes, but in general, against a limper, make it 3 times the big blind plus 1 big blind per limper. That way you get fold equity with your weak hands, and if you do have a strong hand, you get more value, right? So general rule against limpers, isolating 3 times the big blind plus 1 big blind for every limper. So if he limps 50, you need to raise 200, not 100. Right, fold equity. If he just folds, that's great. You don't want him to limp call with 100% when you make it 100. If he just folds, that's fine. Alright. The eights is a call in hindsight. Eights. What do we do with eights? Okay. Hopefully you're agreeing with me. Oh, you are. Yeah. I don't remember that hand. I have the worst memory. Alright, so we're in the money now. Just raise because we haven't covered. And raise because we're the big stack. Like in the bounty structure, you can be very aggressive on the button with the big stack, so I'd raise this one. But, you know, I think Bitey, you need some work post-ops, so I wouldn't be raising 9-6 if I was you. Alright, but I would do it personally. This is definitely defend, because it's a bounty structure, you have him covered, and you're getting 3 to 1 in position. So I'd call here any 2 cards. Am I telling you to call any 2 cards? No. Because I think you need to work on your post-flop game before you can start calling here with Queen 6. Because, you know, you need to work on a few things, you know, like when to bet and when to call and things like that. But when you have position, in this spot, in a knockout tournament, when you have position, and you're getting odds, and you have him covered, you should be calling anything. Now, bounty equity. Okay, this is profitable, right? You make money doing this. Ace blind versus blind, shoving all in for 20 big blinds. Is there a better way of playing the hand? I would argue yes, against most players. Because, like, I think you can limp or min raise and make a higher profit with less risk playing post flop with these guys. Yeah, but if you're unsure of how to play an ace blind versus blind for 20 big blinds, shoving will make you money. We have nothing, so we'll fold. Play 100% when you have him covered, so limp or ace. Again, limp or raise, because we have him covered, it's a bounty structure. Now we're trapping with ace 9, that's a better raise, because you can raise call ace 9. But with ace 2, like, shoving is going to be maybe better, because you can't really raise call. Wow, that's a big all in, it's almost 30 big blinds. Just 3 bet for more value, make it 400. You don't need to shove, you want value out of ace king, 3 bet. This is a 9-man knockout, Condor, 9-man. Do you think you could break even in the 36 satellites of PokerStars? Master Yoda? There you go. There's the answer to that question. Okay, nice raise. I would be raising all these buttons. The 5-4, the 9-6, the 9-3. I'd raise any 2 cards here, because I have them covered and I'm very confident playing post-flop in position. But I'm fine with you folding them, because I think you're going to get into more trouble by playing these hands, and folding is going to be fine. But, you know, for you guys that maybe are more experienced, if you want to play knockouts, this is a spot to raise 100% of your hands. Bounty equity. Play some hands in position. Good, that's a good one. So call, we have a pair, it's a dry board. Now, I don't think you need to turn your hand into a bluff on the turn, because you already beat all of his air balls, and he's not folding a 10 or a king. He might fold a 4, but it's pretty unlikely that he has a 4, because he bet the flop. Some players would check call. Also, he raised pre-flop, so he doesn't have many 4s in his pre-flop range. So I would just check it back, get to a river, and try and check it down now with bottom pair. They're cash hypers. They're basically the same games, Master Yoda. They're just different payout structures, but the level of those are basically the same. So yes. The answer is yes. There's no reason to turn bottom pair into a bluff. Similar to the last hand you have with bottom pair, just call it down and bluff catch. Use this as a bluff catcher. Very weak showdown value. Like what you do by raising, if he has queen jack, he's going to rip it all in and you can't call. But if he has, like, you call down and he misses, you're going to win the hand. So you end up just bluffing when you have decent equity against a lot of his range. So you don't need to bluff this yet. Look, exactly what happens. So he could have 2 overs. He might have a 10. Yes, he might have a 10. But if you just call down for a small pot, you'll see on the turn if he has it. If the turn is a jack and he bombs it, you just fold. But by raising now, you're really just folding everything that you already beat. You're making them fold, and you're only... he's not folding anything better. So, you know, you're just turning a hand that you can use to catch his bluffs. You're turning it into a bluff when you don't need to. So just call down with bottom pair. Any two cards push because of bounty equity. Any two cards push because of bounty equity, don't min raise. Just 10 big blinds, all in or fold. Bet. Good. Call because of bounty equity. Unless he's a super nit. Any two cards push because of bounty equity, and because he's tight, and because it's, you know, three-handed, and because you're the chip leader. Call because... I guess you can shove. Like, this is fine because you're putting pressure on him. But I would just call because his line here is very strong. Look what he's doing. He's min-raising into the chip leader when there's a short stack around. So I would say he's fairly strong, and he's probably not folding to an all-in. So I would just call and see a flop. Then I can outplay him in position. But if you think he's a loose player and he's just stealing, then yeah, just go all in. That's fine. Any two cards push because of bounty equity. C-bet because it's a dry board and he probably has nothing and he's under a lot of pressure. Bet turn because it's a wet card. He's checked twice. He's shown weakness. Good. Call again because you have him covered. It's a bounty tournament and, you know, whatever. Just play any two cards. You have a lot of chips. Any two cards. Big mistake there. Call because odds and bounty. Heads up time. Yeah, alright. So now we're just playing heads up. There's no more bounty situations. It's just chip EV. Value bet. I'd probably bet the river to get king high to call. Yeah. Oh well. Tits nits, dude. That makes me feel pretty wet knowing that you're holding your dick while you watch me. Appreciate it. Don't forget the mid stakes and starts are being mega infested. I mean, I'm not trying to. I don't know, Marcio. I've never played those games, but I was playing in some of the toughest sitting goes in the world for 5 years, so I'm pretty confident that I can break even in those games at minimum. Yeah, cash hypers are very infested as well. With King 5, figured to have the best hand and flop most of the time. I didn't want him to get to the turn if he missed, so raise folding him, but yeah. Just, you don't need to turn it into a bluff, just call down. What's up, Chris? How you doing? Okay, heads up. You want to play a lot of buttons, so raise or limp. And with this one, raise or limp. Call, pot odds. It's a nice hand. 10-8, heads up. Oh, yeah, you can't fold 7-8. Just limp or raise. And that's just 4-5. Just play every button until he stops you. You know, until he says no. I'm tired of you limping. I'm tired of you raising. Continue playing buttons because having the button heads up is really, really, really good. You have position. You choose. You can see his actions. You can choose the bet sizing. You can choose when to barrel. It's so good. So you have to play everything, especially against weak players. I like the check call because, you know, I like it. You have king high, you have some backdoors with straight draws. We'll see what happens on the turn. Can he turn it into a bluff? I don't see a reason to. He's not folding ace high. So I would actually just check call this. Yeah, similar to the threes, is he ever going to fold a better hand than this? Is he folding eights or ace high or a full house? No way. Right? There's no way he's ever folding a better hand. So the only reason to bet is to try and get him to fold another king high. But it's pretty hard for him to have king high when you have a king. So I think there's more value in checking and letting him maybe bluff and then you check call. Okay? There you go. If you check, he doesn't bet there. He just checks back. So you just value towned yourself. Or it wasn't value town because you weren't going for value, but you bluffed in a spot where he's never folding anything better, basically. Chat face. Quiet in here. What do you mean, man? We're having a good discussion. Everyone's concentrating. It was crazy earlier. It's quiet now a little bit. Aces! Spiders. These ones, the spiders. Good bet. Last hand, well played. Oh, bit bitey. You started off so well. I had high hopes for the first 10 hands, but yeah, you do need to work a lot on your post flop. So keep, watching Twitch and listening to how people analyze their post flop, and hopefully you'll just learn with practice. So my advice is just be tighter because you're making some post flop errors. If you play tighter, it's harder for you to make mistakes because you have a much tighter range and more value hands, right? So none of this isolating with 3-2 suited. Just stick to a much tighter range. Yeah, you need some practice, heads up as well. But it wasn't terrible, dude. Well done. I've seen a lot worse than that, so you did okay. Don't be too hard on yourself. Alright, Jay Lawrence, and then one more, and then gonna try and grind for